So that's the aircon, the evaporator or whatever it is at the front there. Not going to touch that. And I'll just check the heater housing to make sure it's free of rubbish and stuff. It mostly is. I'll probably vacuum it later. And the drain hose here is unobstructed, which it is. Very useful, that drain hose. I've never got wet carpets. Okay. So we got 3 new O-rings, 2 14mm and 1 17mm, that's inside diameter, that fit around the pipes and then squeeze into those recesses in the heater header, just nicely. So we take the old O-rings off the inner ends of the pipes. I don't know if we can even see them there. Yeah. Take those off and clean up the ends of the pipes as best we can. Install the new O-rings on those before we put the new heater core in place. And those old O-rings are so well stuck to the pipe, they leave a little ring of rubber even after I've managed to prise the O-ring off. So that's going to take some careful cleaning. Right, so now how to get the new heater back into place. Now when I pulled the old heater out, part of the difficulty was getting the top of the heater, this bit here, past this bit of the cover here. I just pulled very, very hard. And that bit is flexible. It bent out of the way with a lot of effort. The other critical thing will be to get the O-rings on the pipes there properly fitted and sealed into the heater. Now, I'm not sure whether I can hold the pipes back, pull that out of the way and simultaneously shove the heater in. So one reference I've seen says you can just bend that out of the way, but I'm not sure whether I can achieve that. So what I've decided is to just cut a little bit out of there. After I've fitted the new heater, I will glue or tape it back into place. If it fails and falls out, the worst I'll get is a small air leak, which is much less serious than having a bad seal on the O-rings and water leaking. So that's what I'm going to do. Right, brand new blade in this, but it's sharp. And I'm going to cut across there and then down there to cut a narrow rectangle out of it, if I can. See how it goes. Right, and having cut down there, I didn't need to cut across the top because that bends up very easily. And then so I can hold that up quite easily now with a bit of wire or something. But after the heater's in, I will bend that back down into place and slap some tape over it. Bingo. So, where to fit the foam sealing strips applied with the heater? Well, apparently, round here, across the top, down the side, round the front here, and then up the side there. At least if the old heater is anything to go by. So that's what we'll do. Well now, I've wiped that thoroughly, cleaned it as best I can using xylene brush cleaner. But anyway, the black marks are still there. I can't get them off without using sandpaper, and I'm not going to try that. Hopefully that's just a very, very thin mark on the pipe left from the previous O-ring. Hopefully it will seal. If it doesn't seal, after I've got the heater in, I won't take the heater out again. I'll just remove these pipes and do the front end in front of the bulkhead, remove these pipes, clean them up when I've got them out in the open, and then stick them back in. But hopefully I won't need to do that. So I'm putting on 3 new O-rings. One source mentioned using non-hardening gasket sealer on them, such as that. I'm not going to on this, partly because I'm not sure I can apply it dead evenly all round in this location, partly because I might need to take it apart from the outside if it leaks, in which case gasket sealer will only complicate matters. So there goes. So now we're ready to put the heater in. I'll tie this up with wire. Right. On that. Slide it past that lever there. That's it. Now will these push in? So you can see the backing plate there, that should slide in to hold them in evenly. Well now, the pipes appear to be in, so far as I can see. The backing plate appears to be in and lined up with the holes. So that's going to drop down too far in the socket to reach properly, and when I pull it out it'll drop out and get lost. So a little bit of plasticine, modelling clay, whatever, anything suitable, stuck in there behind it should help to hold it and position it right. We'll see how that works. What this is telling me is that backing plate needs to be tapped further or pushed further home. The pipes appear to be fully home, but the backing plate isn't. There's the backing. Yeah, that's the backing plate. So I'll try to push it into place gently. Well, now, getting this far was a bit of a mission. I did finally get the screw in there. The pipes didn't seem to want to go in far enough for the screws to catch. Bit of investigation showed that the holes in the end of the header on the new one were about 1/10 of a millimetre smaller than the holes in the old one, so I eased them a bit with a fine file. And then, by carefully pushing and prodding and a bit of tapping with a block of wood to encourage it, and a bit of poking with a screwdriver and against the plate, I finally managed to get 2 of the screws in. I'm trying for the 3rd one now. It's not a terribly long screw, so there isn't a lot of margin available for taking up any gaps in the plate, but now I've got 2 of them in, the 3rd one is actually going in. So I crank them up to 2 pound-foot apparently of torque, and or what I guess to be 2 pound-foot, and we hope that is enough to seal the O-rings. The O-rings are apparently supposed to be sort of bulging out the side there slightly. Like that, because that's what the old ones were doing. So I'm just torquing these up to 2 pound-foot by complete guesswork. Let's screw in quite a long way, trying to keep the plate even. Okay, so 2 pound-foot is 6 pounds on the end of 4 inches. So, about that. It was actually a bit more torque than I thought it was going to be, but pretty approximate, but better than nothing. So now I can undo my flap of plastic. Lower it down. And I'll tape it into place with the best tape I can find. This is all hidden inside the cover of the heater box. If the worst happens and it comes loose, I'll get a slight air leak of probably hot air coming out just here, which is better than having water leaks coming out of those O-rings. Having that up did make it a lot easier to see what was going on in there when putting the pipes back in. little bit of the plastic foam can go in here before I put that flap down, just to help seal against air leakage getting out past there. There was foam in there already, but it got pretty well knocked off while I was replacing the heater. Right, now we'll tape that up. It should be good as new. Hopefully that should hold it. So now it's just putting it back together time. The flaps and cross shaft, I don't think the left hand one is supposed to be curved, just means there's going to be a bit of air leakage onto the passenger's feet. Okay. So that's got to go in, so the lower flap is behind that lip there. So and it did eventually fiddle into place. Now this side, and there. There we are. Now the link. Just like that. Now we're going to put the case on, and it'll go on in there a lot easier if those flaps are vertical. For which reason we reconnect the battery. Temporarily reconnect the heater controls. Plug that in and that in. Switch on. Obviously don't start the motor. And with demist selected, those flaps have returned to vertical, and it's blowing air. So now we can slide this into position, which we will do. I need both hands for this. And there it is. Okay. Switch motor off. switch ignition off. This has probably returned to horizontal now inside, but that's okay. Disconnect this, put it aside for now, and disconnect battery again. So I just had to extract this, which was dangling down in the way, and now it all fits quite snugly. Yeah. It helps to keep all the screws and things separate from each other, and sometimes label them what they are. So these are the heater case screws, 7 of them. I'll put them in now. A long magnetic screwdriver makes the 2 top ones a piece of cake. Okay, I fit this bottom bracket, whatever it does. Now we put the cable back into place. It sits inside this clip there. That's it. Runs up inside there, round this clip here, and there's a clip that holds that in there. So found it. Clip goes there. It just pushes on. With a very big push. Okay. That took quite a push, but there we are. Clip in place. Temperature sensors. There's one particular angle it goes in at, like so. And then the clip goes on. Yeah. very close to the lower one. I should maybe put the plug on before I put it in. Oh, it goes in. Okay. So there we are with those. Now before I go further, I'm just going to check that all the bits of wiring are in the right place and not going to get trapped in the behind the wrong things. So that goes to the radio, which is here. So there's this monster, and that I think that goes on the heater controls there. These go, that's the information display which sits here, so I think we're clear. Right. Now we can take out our spacer here and let that bar move back forwards to its proper place. Just to lift it. Lifting it with the steering wheel. Oh, put the camera down while I wriggle it into place. The other end of the bar there will also have to go forwards. So that's back forward. Bolt goes in there. Now by lifting the wheel, on my knees, and with a bit of a struggle here, I can get the bolt lined up and in, hopefully, like so. And you can just see the bolt hole there. And then there's one behind the steering column. You can just about see it. Just there. And one to the other side. I found just giving the steering wheel a hefty tug towards me with both hands was enough to line that hole in the bracket up. And there's the other one. I found that I could sit in the seat here with my knees pushing up against the wheel and reach round there and get the bolts in front each side. It kind of works. And now this little switch panel. There's the leads. Just plug them onto there and it pushes into place, clips into place. Oh, and those switches will push out if you're not careful. That's it. That's in. So then this switch panel just sits in there, slides up from below, click like that, and then is held by the screw that I think holds the bottom casing on. So we'll come to that later. So now we've got the left hand bar. Bolts on somewhere here. There's a short bolt. Bolts on, attaches here. Nut. And bolts on under this here with that length of bolt. And this goes inside it, so we don't have to worry about feeding it through that. I'll try putting the airbag on afterwards. Go. So now the airbag, which has not so far exploded in my face, and it would seem that these bolt through those brackets there. These bolts. So that's what we'll do. Now this just clips onto the strut there, like that. The airbag cover just pushes into place, like that. So now the radio, 3 connectors. Make sure the tabs each side are fully back. That needs screwing back a bit. With a 2.5mm hex key. Now this plugs into that, This pulls back, slots over the little pips here and pushes in to lock it. I think that down, push with a mighty push, like that, and that one fits in the back, some angle. I'll have to put it up the official way to get that in. And the other one plugs in the other corner. Like that. Slide radio into place. And screw up the little catches there once it's snugly in. I can feel something blocking it. I'm going to check the wiring behind. That just had to come down a bit. Oh no, it's there, okay. And now just screwing it back into place. It's quite a long way. Right, the ventilation panel. This has two connectors on it, that magnificent thing there and a little one there. So the way this one works, that clip has to be down like that before you push it in. As you push it in, you can lever up there, it'll swing into place and it clicks with this bit. You have to press that in to remove it. So it's in like that. This thing slides up and pulls it into engagement at the same time. Click. There we are. The other one goes in there. Come on, you. And clicks into place. And then that just, a spring clips each side, that just pushes in. So, well, that's it. So now the centre console around the gear stick. Now make sure that we don't get any leads trapped in the wrong place. Those all go to the centre panel at the front, so we'll shove them all back up there. Those are for the switches, the window switches. Yep. That's for the hazard warning switch. Right. Okay, so now we can just put it in place. And it's held with two screws. One at the side through there. And a nut on the back onto there. So here goes. And there is in fact tons of room to make sure these cables don't get stuck, which is good. Let's push that up a bit to get over the bolt. Yeah, so there we are there. There's the nut at the rear. Glove compartment. There's a couple of leads need to go in before we put it in place. That needs to go in there. That needs to go through the hole there. And it screws in 3 places. Fits on there and on there, that bracket, and up there. So I have a funny feeling that this should have gone in first. I'll worry about that when I get to it. After first attaching the flashlight socket and making sure the cable for the interior light are in place. So that slid in quite easily. So now we just put the screw up in here above the light. So now a couple of screws into there and there. It's a bit of a fiddly angle for the screwdriver, but they will actually go in. Now the top box light, first that plugs in there. Quite easily, that was a devil of a job to get out. Then it goes in like that. Click like that. Now the upper panel, which just pushes into place and fixes with 4 screws, there, there, there and there. And try and get these to line up with the registers on the ducts in there. Feels like it's right. Okay, and we'll just put the screws in. Now we fit the upper glove box panel, the 4 screws there, there, there and in there. And then these these little plastic covers go on the two lower screws. Just press on. That. So then this goes in. Sort of jams into place up there. I think maybe the glove box slides under it here and here. But we'll just have to see. Those screws need to come out. Then I think this sits up there, and maybe the glove box slides underneath it, and then the screws go back in. That's what I'm going to try anyway. And then I can just tighten these two under the bottom of the box here. So now we've got this massive panel, which seems to fit with just 3 screws. One there, one in the corner there, and one up underneath there. And it's got a couple of clips on the right hand side. And presumably all this just pushes in. So we'll have a go. Apparently, yes, works like that. Okay, window switches. The leads are all, or the plugs are all colour coded. The only thing to remember is that one has to go onto a switch before the front switch is placed. We'll get to that in a moment. That is another of those slidey things that slides back there. Then this pushes in, and as you push it in, so that slides into place. Oops, and I just pushed the switch out of its holder. Clicks back in. And then the front switch can go into place there. That way round. That has to come out before that can slide free and release its plug. I'll leave the hazard warning switch for now. Well, I think some of these aren't actually used. These two look very similar, but for this one, the black one is the only one that fits. So the white one doesn't get used. And then this, we've got a plug into the warning light there and two push-on fittings there, and a light that goes in there. Two push-on fittings there. Right. Well, there's the push-on fittings and the light. Right, so we'll plug them all in. The spine goes like so. Put this lever down there. Push in. The lever swings up. As you swing it back till it clicks there, it pulls itself in and locks into place. Very delightful. And then it just sits in there. And it will be jammed into the place by the panel below it. So then we get these. Light plugs in. And that light falls out with the greatest of ease. Then this colour-coded leads, red and yellow, and grey and black. And best of all, the rest of the plugs do nothing. This just has to go into place. Delightful. Obviously this has to go in before the top panel. In. This has to push in past it. Oh, that went in a whole lot easier than it came out, I can tell you that. Then we can just put these little things in that we popped out while trying to extract the whole works. Fits so snugly you can hardly tell they're there. Right. Centre console. It's held by just 2 screws. One at the front, one under the ashtray at the back. The front one is in there, the rear one is there. There's also a couple of lights, one of which fits up through this hole here into the front ashtray. Just here. And one of which fits in the tape cassette storage. How quaint. Underneath there. Goes that way round. So we just have to thread those lights up through the right holes in the centre console when we put it in. And this has to go through the slot for the handbrake here as we lower it into place. Okay, so here goes. I'll have to use both hands. The ashtray surround is held in by screws through there, which are just plastic clips with plastic screws through them. Clips push in, screws push in also. Sometimes those will push in. This one seems to prefer to screw in. And the same for the back one. So now we just plugged in the ashtray light from underneath. I feel and this up. Make sure this light is free. Yep. Yeah, we're ready to screw this down. Just 2 screws, one at the front there, one at the rear there. Right, handbrake cover just clicks into place. Yep. Front go straight. Cassette storage box. Plug the light in first and it just pushes into place. Light plugs in there. Right, I had to use both hands for that, so it is plugged in. So now the thing just slides in and pushes down at the back. There you are, it's working. So there we are, done and done. Should have cleaned that up before I put it back. It has 2 clips. With plastic screws in them. hazard warning switch. Lift its connector through the cab here. It only goes on one way, and it's quite a stiff push. And then just clips into place there. Gear lever surround, or whatever it is. It's fairly flexible, it just squeezes into place. Like so. Gear knob and its gaiter. Just pushes on. And that clips in at the sides. So that's that. Then it remains to reconnect the battery and connect up the heater for the first time in 6 months and see if it leaks. Battery. See if I get blinding sparks. Just a little bit, which is normal.